Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We're pleased with what we see.
Vancouver police say a push against organized crime in the downtown east side is paying off, but others are feeling harassed.
It's just a show for the other people to go, hey, don't think this couldn't happen to you.
Also,
I know that Danielle's priority is to get heavy oil to Tidewater.
they may have different priorities,
Obviously, I'd like to see pipelines built.
but Western Canadian premiers are touting cooperation on some energy and trade. Plus,
I mean, it goes up and down. It's always the same. Nothing's really changed.
There's been a lot more fluctuation, in my opinion.
the carbon tax is history, but prices have gone up at the gas pumps. What might be behind the rise?
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. Vancouver police say they have rearrested a high-risk sex offender just hours after he received statutory release from prison. The force says Randall Hopley was told to live at a city halfway house after leaving Mission Institution in the morning, but say he refused the direction of his parole officer and left the house. The VPD says officers picked him up later in the day after a Canada-wide warrant was issued. BC's premier is not pleased.
I mean, this is outrageous. The last time Mr. Hopley was released, he terrified a family and the entire province. I can't fathom how he would be released again. And I'm also deeply disappointed that notification was not provided by Corrections Canada to the public, especially in the immediate area of the area where Mr. Hopley was planned to be released so that people could prepare.
Hopley did complete a 6-year prison term for the 2011 abduction of a 3-year-old boy in southeastern BC. He was released in 2018 to a Vancouver halfway house under a 10-year long-term supervision order. At the time, police warned the public he still posed a risk of significant harm to young boys. He was arrested in early 2023 for allegedly violating conditions of the order, and later that year was the subject of a 10-day manhunt, which ended after he was found standing at the locked door of a police building on the downtown east side. Premier Eby says the public's confidence in the justice system is being tested now, and he wants Ottawa to ensure things like this don't happen again. David Eby, meanwhile, has wrapped up talks with fellow Western leaders in Yellowknife. As Katie DeRosa reports, while the focus was on trade and natural resources, Western separatism was on the agenda, if not officially.
I know that Danielle's priority is to get heavy oil to Tidewater.
Sitting beside his Alberta counterpart, Premier David Eby acknowledged there are different priorities among Western premiers.
Premier Smith is able to convince the federal government to build another pipeline through British Columbia, or a private proponent. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Eby instead touting a deal inked between BC and the Yukon to cooperate on new renewable energy projects. Danielle Smith insists her province favors an all-of-the-above approach, which includes fossil fuels and renewables.
Obviously, I'd like to see pipelines built, but we had really constructive conversations about interties built so that we could have electricity coming back and forth from Manitoba all the way through to British Columbia and back again.
Critics accuse the federal Liberal government of choking Alberta's oil and gas sector while relying on its sizable revenues. That has led to a growing debate about Western separatism. Danielle Smith's critics claim she's opened the door to an independence vote with a new law that lowers the threshold for a referendum. Smith denies that.
I have said that we want a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada.
David Eby says separatist talk is unhelpful at a time when Canada needs to stick together in the face of economic threats from U.S. President Donald Trump.
There is no worse time for us to get dragged into conversations about splitting up the country.
What the Western premiers do agree on is creating an economic corridor that connects ports and trade hubs across the provinces, made seamless through a nationwide free trade agreement. All the premiers will meet with the Prime Minister next month. Mark Carney has promised to unveil his plan for free trade by Canada Day. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
For years, the city of Burnaby was known as the place in BC with more than $1 billion in reserves and no debt. But both claims may soon end. Justin McElroy explains the decision that city will soon have to make.
For years, Burnaby's philosophy was simple: build a lot in certain town centers and reap the financial benefits.
We definitely had a golden age for about 20 years because there was the demand for increased density.
For some, it was the envy of Metro Vancouver: buildings in reserves, no debt, flattering newspaper headlines. But now?
By the end of 2024, it basically had exhausted a lot of our CDB reserves.
The chair of Burnaby's Financial Management Committee confirming that the infrastructure surpluses are gone, and with it, the era of big projects.
With the reserve, the idea was to be able to deliver more projects than we're able to now.
So what happened? Burnaby has approved a number of large projects, from community centers to theaters to police headquarters. But they've also had to cancel one proposed community center and have stepped back from an ambitious new city hall at Metrotown. One reason is cost overruns. Even with all these projects still 2 to 4 years away, they're $300 million over their original estimate. But the other reason is the elimination of the tool Burnaby used to raise infrastructure funds.
When the government brought in the changes and took away virtually all of the density bonus opportunities for the city, that whole system just collapsed.
That system was the community benefit bonus, or amenity contribution, the ability to get big money upfront from developers in exchange for big increases in approved density. But the province got rid of that program 18 months ago, instead mandating fixed fees for new projects. The province says it speeds up development, but the city says it eliminates its main funding source to build these new projects.
It's tough right now because, the community benefit bonus has really been instrumental to funding a lot of the major civic projects in the past decade.
Adding to the crunch is Burnaby's financial philosophy. They're one of the very few big cities in BC to not use debt to help finance capital projects, and the mayor wants that to continue.
It's not something that I would ever want to do. I think we just got to find different ways and come up with a different business plan. Burnaby's model has always been pay as we go, and hopefully we can stay there.
Can the city figure out how to finance new projects? And will the cost overruns on current projects stay low? That will determine whether Burnaby's decades-long strategy is something residents look back on with fondness or an opportunity squandered. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
We have a heads up for parents and guardians in the BC interior and Okanagan. The pediatric unit at Kelowna General Hospital will be closed for at least 6 weeks starting Monday because of staffing shortages.
Interior Health is working hard to address this, putting in place incentives for locums and for physicians, looking at additional changes to current compensation models, for example, and doing everything they can to attract new pediatricians to the site.
Josie Osborne says the closure of the 10-bed unit was a difficult decision by Interior Health. The doctors who work in that unit will now go to the neonatal intensive care unit and to the emergency room. Osborne says a new pediatrician has been hired, though, and they'll start in the summer. The city of Prince George is now helping 60 people forced from their homes after a massive fire ripped through their 4-story apartment block.
Go ahead, evac 2. We received a call just prior to 6 a.m. Fully involved structured fire that was through the roof in one of the units on the 4th floor.
The blaze broke out near the D.P. Todd High School. Flames and black smoke can be seen across the area. At least half the building's roof collapsed. Emergency Health Services says 2 people were taken to hospital, but they have been released. It's not yet clear what sparked the blaze. As the deadline nears for another possible strike by postal workers across Canada, there is a potentially positive sign. Confirmation the 2 sides are meeting with a mediator. Canada Post's latest offer includes a 13.59% wage increase over 4 years, 6 personal days, and what it calls better income replacement for those on short-term disability leave. It's standing firm, though, on moving to parcel delivery 7 days a week and adding part-time jobs to boost delivery flexibility. If an agreement isn't reached, job action is expected to begin at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Vancouver police say a push against organized crime on the downtown east side and nearby areas is paying off. As Liam Britton reports, businesses are seeing a positive change, but at least one advocacy group accuses officers of intimidation.
We've targeted people committing violence to people who are making the neighborhood unsafe.
And Sergeant Steve Addison with the VPD argues their task force barrage is hitting the mark. It's a $5 million policing surge attacking organized crime and other criminals in the neighborhood. It's just over 90 days old now, and Addison says compared to the same 3 months last year, violent crime in the downtown east side is down 13%.
We're pleased with what we see.
Jess Ketchum with Save Our Streets, a community and business group, is heartened by those results.
And most importantly, we appreciate that this demonstrates the value, we think, of putting more resources, particularly policing resources, into areas like the downtown east side.
But the task force has drawn criticism, accusations of arrest quotas, and officers loitering outside of harm reduction sites deterring people who use drugs from accessing them. The force has denied both accusations.
It's never been an objective of Task Force Barrage to make life harder for the legitimate residents who live in the downtown east side.
But Dave Ham with the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users says people in the community not involved in crime have sometimes felt harassed.
Because it's just a show for the other people to go, hey, don't think this couldn't happen to you, right?
Addison says Barrage is set to run another 3 months or so, but based on early results, the force wants it to keep going. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Meanwhile, Vancouver now has a new police chief. Steve Rye has been selected as the department's 32nd chief constable.
Chief Rye was the acting chief on the first day where the incredibly horrific Lapu incident happened. So I just wanted, I want people to realize that we did not take this process lightly. We were looking for a leader who can really jump in.
The police board said a rigorous national search was conducted to replace Adam Palmer, who retired last month. Steve Rye has been with the VPD for over 3 decades and made his start as a beat cop. Well, we've seen the end of the carbon tax across the country, but some BC drivers are still paying a pretty penny at the pumps. As Amelia John reports, a refinery fire south of the border is being blamed.
My in-laws are here from Ontario and they're complaining about the gas price. They say it's so much cheaper there.
That is too much for them. Last 2 years, it's maybe 60% more. A lot of expense, a lot of expense.
There's been a lot more fluctuation, in my opinion.
The BC carbon tax was eliminated on April 1st, which should have made gas prices about 17 cents cheaper. But these drivers filling up in Vancouver are miffed at how much they're still paying at the pump.
I mean, it goes up and down. It's always the same. Nothing's really changed.
Same. The BC Utilities Commission, which monitors retail prices, points out gas prices did increase leading up to April 1st and said that it was due to rising crude oil prices rather than stations attempting to profit. Now, there seems to be another reason why prices seem to be higher.
When a major refinery fire occurred back in February, it impacted much of the West Coast, the U.S. and Canada. That same refinery had another fire several weeks ago, which again prompted it to shut down completely, and suddenly the flow of gasoline was nil out of that refinery.
That fire in California meant fuel had to be shipped in from Asia, pushing up prices. For those in the trucking industry, a few cents can make a big difference.
We know historically prices in the summer are higher than they are in the fall. That has to do with demand. It has to do with summer formulations of gas where the chemical composition is changed to deal and mitigate ground level ozone.
BC pays some of the highest fuel rates in Canada, and even though there doesn't seem to be much relief, prices are still lower than they were a year ago.
The big lesson here is, if you can avoid taking your car, do your bit and don't take it, and that will help keep prices low.
Analysts say the impact of eliminating the carbon tax could be more clear in the months to come. Amelia John, CBC News, Vancouver.
Darius Madavi's here for our first look at the weather, and you've got ye old fire danger rating map out.
I do, and you won't notice much change compared to yesterday. The northeast still high to extreme fire danger in little pockets. Down in the south, we remain at mostly low to very low fire danger with a couple little pockets of moderate there as well. We're going to talk more about the drought and the snowpack update that came out today later in the show, but for now, I want to highlight the fact that we've had a couple errant lightning strikes in parts of the Caribou region, but for the most part, pretty calm. A few convective showers popping up in parts of the interior and dry here on the south coast. As we head into the next few days, expect to see some precipitation for the north central coast and the North Island, but here on the lower mainland, South Island, pretty dry, Dan.
Okay, Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Many of the temporary memorials for last month's Lapu Lapu Day tragedy are being taken down and moved. We'll tell you why after this. The City of Vancouver has now begun removing and consolidating many of the temporary memorials around John Oliver Secondary School on Fraser Street, the site of the Lapu Lapu Day Festival attack that killed 11 people. The city says it needs to balance community needs.
The local neighborhood, the local school community are also needing an opportunity to start their healing process. And so the ability to consolidate these memorials will support both of those two needs in the community, as well as ensure continued traffic safety and sidewalk safety.
Items gathered are being moved to two temporary locations, one at 43rd Avenue in Fraser and the other in nearby Mountain View Cemetery. It's dress up for adults, looking and acting the part of your favorite fictional characters. Cosplay is drawing more and more fans. But as Alexandra Lamique reports, for people on the autism spectrum, it's also a way to thrive and build connections.
I want to know that I'm doing a good job with my scenes.
Avi and Devona are cosplayers.
They recreate costumes and step into the shoes of their favorite fictional characters. It's an activity that requires social interaction, something that isn't always easy for people on the autism spectrum.
So it's kind of a constant, you just work on how you interact. Yeah, is the best word.
Well, I have been diagnosed with social anxiety, and that is expounded by not being able to connect with people or not knowing what to say, what is the right thing to say.
Communicating with others could be difficult for an autistic person because for most of the autistic community, we tend to take things very literally, so it can make it difficult sometimes in a conversation.
Autism is a lifelong neurodevelopmental condition that affects how a person interacts with the world, communicates, and perceives information. It is also characterized by very specific interests, traits that can marginalize autistic people.
You know, like how it's like when you're interacting with a person, you might not like look at them or something. So you have to remember stuff like that. It's small things. You have to look at the person. You can't talk down. You can't talk too fast.
I can say we are not necessarily not normal, but we have our moments where we just want to kind of be our own little zone.
For Scott, Davona, and Avi, the world of cosplay is a place where they aren't afraid of being judged for their appearance. Avi, for example, can ask lots of questions and tends to touch things and fabrics.
In cosplay, it is usually seen as like really nice when people are really interested in your costume. It's more socially acceptable to say, hey, can I take a close look at like the materials that you made? Can I take a closer look at the techniques you may have used for this costume? Can I ask you about this?
Crafting costumes and accessories with great attention to detail is a major draw for cosplayers on the spectrum. But above all, cosplay allows them to connect with others around a shared passion and thrive in a very welcoming community.
A lot of us could easily have a disability or what have you, like myself, and I can say everyone is welcome in the community.
Doesn't matter what gender you are or your, like your ethnic background, or if you're on spectrum or not, everyone is very accepting, so that's why I like it.
It is more okay to be yourself around cosplayers because there is that level of connection.
Finding a community and a space where we can be ourselves is essential for everyone, but for autistic people it's even more important because it's a place where we can let down the mask a little bit. So it means less stress, being free to be oneself, being free to be who they truly are. It's really important for autistic people to be able to find those communities.
Finding a place to be your true self in a world of fiction. Alex Lamik, CBC News, Vancouver.
There is a glimpse of the day on Ross Bay and the beautiful Victoria shoreline. Beautiful blue water, a little chilly though, and a mostly clear sky. Chilly water, I should say. Darius Madavi will have your full BC-wide forecast after the break.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
CBC celebrates Asian Heritage Month through the language of movement, where every step tells a story. Throughout the month of May, we're shining a spotlight on Asian dance groups, showcasing the dynamic blend of classical, folk, and contemporary dance forms. These talented dance groups share their cultural heritage through stories and traditions, knowledge, and technique. Read and watch their stories at cbc.ca/BC.
Darius Madavi is here with the BC wide weather forecast and the drought map.
That's right. We got both a drought map and a snowpack update today, so exciting stuff, but unfortunately not very much good news. We've actually worsened by 10 percentage points province-wide in terms of that snowpack. We're down to about 39% below normal for May 15th. And if you take a look at a couple basins, I want to highlight the Vancouver Island Basin, just over 50% below normal. And if we take the average across the entire Fraser River, so the whole Fraser River Basin, almost 40% below normal. Not great news there. What does give us a little bit of hope is the drought map. We have seen some improvement down here in southwestern BC. Vancouver Island was at a level 3, now a level 2. Same situation, dropping 1 drought level for the lower mainland and the Sunshine Coast. The Northeast is remaining stubbornly in those high drought conditions, severe drought, but the central basins and the southern interior basins that we finally got an update for could be worse, level 1, level 2 drought there. Is there good news? Is there precipitation on the way? For some of these areas, yes. The North Island, North Coast, Sunshine Coast, those areas getting some rain. Here we seem pretty stubbornly dry for the South Island, Lower Mainland. But there might be some rain coming as we get into mid next week, maybe even some showers as early as next Monday for the South Island and Lower Mainland. Some of those showers will also break into the interior, but don't expect to see too much for most areas there. We're looking pretty dry especially and hot in the southern interior. Over the next few days, you can see those temperatures climbing until we hit above 30 degrees on Sunday and probably not dropping too quickly as we head into next week either. So it's definitely a place to be watching for as we get the next drought update next Thursday. And the fire danger map probably going to reflect that more quickly than the drought map for sure. Here are our conditions across the province tomorrow. A few thunderstorms possible up in the northeast, in the Peace, and in the central interior. But for the most part, pretty calm, just warming up. And here's our 5-day forecast, Dan. Some warm inland temperatures, but mostly just looking at sunshine.
Okay, Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, the free app, on YouTube, and our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. And Janella Hamilton will be your host here tomorrow. Good night.